this wind picks up like this and gets this strong, we will have 90 to 110 mile per hour winds well inland. In Tallahassee, also in Georgia, and that little corner of Alabama. So take your family into an interior hallway, drag every mattress that you have that you can get your hands on, and take it with you. Bring all your supplies with you. If you have an interior bathroom that has no windows, if you have an interior walk-in closet, walls are your friend against wind, tight walls. So every corner makes the building stronger. And the reason we like bathrooms is the plumbing running through those 2x4s within the wall actually helps make that wall stronger, and you can use the tub to get in and pull a mattress over you, much like you would a tornado, to protect yourself from debris. Because I've been in these buildings when they fall apart like this, when the constant wind of a Category 4 or 5 hurricane tears them apart, and there will be flying debris. There'll be glass, there'll be insulation, there'll be wood, there'll be nails in that wood, all of it kind of moving through. So you want to put yourself in your home, an interior hallway, that walk-in closet, that bathroom, put everybody in with all your supplies, and stay for the duration. And this storm will be with you from 6 to 10 hours.
And Sam, I should say, that's exactly what Ginger has done. You know, we went to Ginger a few minutes ago and we had lost her and we couldn't hear from her, but we have now heard from her. Even though she's lost in her crew, they've lost the ability to broadcast, but as she's telling us now, she is safe. Wanted to make sure everybody knew that as well. And Sam, you're giving good information to the people who are in the path of the storm right now. As we see that map right there, it's going to be several intense hours ahead for everybody in the path of Hurricane Michael, because it's, as you were saying, it's going to kind of keep its structure as it moves quickly.
Yeah, this storm was very powerful, and it was kind of operating on its own. It didn't need to feed on the shallow waters of the Gulf. When you have a system that's a 4 or a 5, it just spins on its own, and it takes a long time to unwind it. So we will have this 3-4 in inland areas of the Florida Panhandle now. So Tallahassee and cities like that will be seeing exactly what we have with the winds. They just won't be facing a lot of the storm surge, and Georgia needs to know that too. But this storm is very different from the storm that we just broadcast a few weeks ago in Florence, when we're talking about it being a wet storm and a flooding storm. Once we get past that impact of the water up against the shoreline, we're talking about this storm being a damaging windstorm. So you really have to put yourself in your home and in any building you're in a secure location. One thing I want to tell you about hurricane-proof glass. The glass itself, that pane of glass, you can take a baseball bat and you can hammer it. It will not shatter to about 130 plus mile per hour winds. But what seals the window to the building is not hurricane proof, and those windows can often come out. So I don't want you to have the safety that if you're standing by hurricane glass watching this, you can watch it. George, you can't.
No, you cannot. Good counsel there, Sam. Thank you. I want to go back to Rob Marciano on Panama City Beach as we see so much debris being thrown around by those winds. Rob.
George? Hi, guys. Sorry about that, George. My earpiece getting filled with water, as you can imagine. The amount of rain now coming out of these clouds and blowing sideways, slapping me in the face, and just filling my ear canal with water. We're on the other side of this parking structure on the ground level, obviously. Look at that. Someone commuted to work on a bike, and they may be one of the folks at our hotel who are not going anywhere anytime too soon. Wanted to give you this vantage point. And again, we're somewhat protected by this structure here, so the wind's not nearly as ferocious as they would be if I were to step out in a more precarious position about 30 feet or 50 feet that way. Every once in a while we get these puffs. And I think Sam mentioned it. Along this high wall, there are little vortices as it wobbles inland that have these puffs, if you want to call it, euphemism, that are really intense. It can easily knock you down. Those palm trees, check it out, how they are bending in this breeze of full-on hurricane strength. They are not coming down. There's a reason that palm trees are in this orbit, because they can take this wind. And when this storm gets a little further inland, telling after your next point, they got some tough trees that are tall, pine trees as well. And they're going to come down. So we've got that 1-2 punch happening with this. But this, I've been in the western eye wall of a couple of storms, one actually notable. Hurricane Ivan back in 2004 also came in this area, a little bit farther to our west. And this side of the eye wall, I can assure you, is not any more fun than the other side. It is brutal here, and we're in this for another good couple of hours, George. And then the wind shifts, and we've got a whole other set of issues which we'll bring it to you live in daylight, as Sam mentioned. It's an unusual event that you, the viewer at home, get to witness the power of Mother Nature firsthand.
It is coming in so strong, so fierce. I want to go now to Ken Graham, the director of the National Hurricane Center. And Ken, what is the most important thing you want people to know about this hurricane right now?
Yeah, we're really worried about, of course, the wind that you're seeing, some of the images from everybody. This is intense wind. I mean, landfall at 155 miles an hour, so structural damage, trees down, power outages, and that's just part of it. I mean, we're looking at some of the readings here at Panama City, already gusting to 129 miles an hour. Now, some of this could be well away, so once you start making landfall, even these rain bands away from the center of the storm could start having hurricane force winds. So this isn't just coastal, this is going to stretch pretty far inland.
And Ken, talk about the path that we're going to see over the next several hours and what could happen to the hurricane.
And look at this. So we do expect some weakening once you make landfall, so you start to see that. But here's the issue. When you come ashore that strong, you know, a Category 4, 155 miles an hour, we still are forecasting to still be a hurricane on the Alabama-Georgia state line, a tropical storm even tomorrow, looking at the Georgia-South Carolina line. So this isn't just coastal. You're catastrophic damage right along the coast. But you'll start seeing the rainfall and gusty winds well into Georgia and the Carolinas. You can still see some power outages in those areas.
And Ken, we heard Ginger say this before. This is the strongest storm to hit the United States since Camille back in 1969.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I looked at some of the stats, and here's an interesting one, too. We got statistics going back to 1851 on these hurricanes, and this one here is the first Cat 4 in the Florida Panhandle, so historic in that regard. The other one, 919 millibars, makes it the top 3 or 4 lowest pressures of U.S. landfalling hurricanes as well. So, you know, a very strong system, catastrophic damage associated with the storm surge, the rain, and also the wind.
My goodness. Okay, Ken Graham, thanks very much. Thanks for your time. I want to go back to Maggie Rulli in Panama City Beach. Maggie.
George, not sure if you can hear that behind me. The whistling and the wind just continues to intensify. And the biggest change I've noticed about in the past half hour is just this wind you see is now constant. There is no break in these wind gusts, and they keep getting stronger and stronger. We were out there not too long ago, and I've had to keep moving further inside under the hotel awning just to stay safe. And it's a good thing we did. The second we moved inside, a huge sign from down the street ripped off its foundation, came barreling down just behind us. So we're staying more inside for now. And again, the biggest change is just these winds are intense, they're constant, and you can hear them whipping past your ears nonstop, George.
And Maggie, you've been there for several hours this morning. When did people start to move off the streets, and when did you really have the feel that everybody was hunkered down inside?
You know, I have to say, at first there was some draw to be outside, the anticipation. We were out here, like I said, since 3 a.m. this morning when it was still relatively quiet, and that's when you saw a lot more people, especially media, outside walking around, taking videos. But just about an hour and a half ago is when things really started to get intense, and I think people realized this is the time to take this storm seriously. The governor's been urging us. It's a strong Category 4, pushing 150 miles per hour, so this is not something to mess around with. And once we started seeing and hearing this wind whip up and seeing that debris, that's when everyone really pushed inside and started to take shelter.
Okay, Maggie, thanks very much. I want to go back to Sam Champion right now. And Sam, you know, boy, as we see those trees swaying in the wind, this hurricane hitting in the same week we learned from the United Nations that we're reaching an actual crisis point in the idea of climate change. Talk about what we know and what we don't know about the impact of climate change on intense weather events like this hurricane.
So, George, you know, when we get down to what we do know and what we believe and what we don't know, I would put that in 3 separate categories, because what we know has been proven that we know that in increased levels of carbon in the atmosphere has certainly done a lot to put more energy in the atmosphere, certainly done a lot to put more water in our oceans. And so that, we believe, will make the storms a little bit stronger. But in the next 2 categories of what we believe and what we don't know, it comes down to how many hands we have on deck for science. We have to be able to, and there are lots of scientists who will tell you they will point to these stronger storms as being contributed by climate change, to being stronger because of climate change. But we really need to put hands on deck to be able to prove that the warmer waters of the ocean, by the way, this storm was moving through waters in the Gulf that were 2 to 4 degrees warmer than normal for this time of year. So when you talk about warmer water making a difference on stronger hurricanes, this is the kind kind of thing we have to put together